Okay, so now we're going to do two questions that involve some form of decay that happens to our price or the amount of stuff that we have. So basically the amount shrinks. So when we talk about a half-life problem, this is the problem that we have. The half-life of aspirin is approximately 2 hours. If I take a 10 milligram tablet of aspirin, how much will be left over after 8 hours? So basically we have to come up with an equation. So let us not use a table anymore, but we're going to use our basic equation. So this is the basic equation we're going to use. Anything that deals with half-life or doubling works using this equation. So now let's begin. So we've got y is equal to a bracket b to the x. Now we said that it is a half-life problem. Half-life means that the problem cuts in half each time. So basically this means chops in half, 1/2. So basically all we are going to do is we're going to change our b value, our thing that we're multiplying by each time, to 1/2. So we have y is equal to a times 1/2 raised to the x. Now, your question is what your starting amount is. If you look at the problem, it says if I take a 100 milligram tablet, oh my gosh, that is what our starting value is. So y is equal to 100 times 1/2 raised to the x. Now, it says this happens every 8 hours. Now, let's go and define what x and y are so we know what each of these things are. So if you think about it, x is time in blocks of 2. Hours. So if you think about it, it says the half-life is in 2 hours. So if I was looking at 8 hours, then technically there would only be 4. So in this case, there is only x equals 4 since we're looking at 8. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. So literally there are 4 blocks of 2 that we're using for our problem. And then we're going to let y be the amount of aspirin. So now let's substitute directly into our equation. So we get y is equal to 100 times 1/2 raised to the 4. We do our calculations and we get the following. And we get y is equal to 6.25. So now you just say at the very end there are 6.2 milligrams left. Now let's talk about a car depreciation question. For a car depreciation question, you're going to use a problem that looks like this. If I know what my percent decrease is, right, what you need to do is you use the percent decrease with this equation here. So first of all, let's go over the problem and I underline all the important parts. Mr. Simpson bought a car. I started with $20,000 for the value of my car. The car depreciates at a rate of 12% every year. So now what we're doing is we're going to change our rate, which is 12%. So we'll start with that. R is equal to, well, 12%, which turns into, well, 12 over 100, which is equal to 0.12. So now that is what our R value is. And we'll start with our basic equation. So our basic equation is this. Y is equal to a 1 minus r to the x. Now, let's go and identify what x is. X is going to be the years since, well, when did we start this? We bought the car in 2000, since 2000. Now, on our calculations, we're looking for our value for 2015. So we have to go x is equal to 2015 minus 2000 to get basically 15 years. So that is what we'll be using for x in our final calculation. And we say that y is equal to the amount of the car, or the cost of the car, or the value of the car. Now you'll see problems like this in your homework today. So let's begin. So let's find out what A is. A, we said, was our starting value. So A is our start value. So A in this case is 20,000. And then our R value we said was 0.12. So we're going to change that to be 1 minus 0.12 raised to the x. Now 1 minus 0.12 turns into the following. Y is equal to 20,000 times 0.88 raised to the x. So now, in order to find what we're looking for in our final problem, it says, what is the value of the car if I bought it brand new in 2000? So I need to find out what the final answer is. We found out that our x value is 15, and let's begin. Plug in our numbers, 20,000 I mean, 0.88 raised to the, not x, but 15. Do our calculations, and we get the following answer. And we get y is equal to $2,939.48. So basically the car is now worth approximately $3,000. So your homework is basically a sheet that I gave you. Try working on them today, and I'll put solutions up tonight. Good luck. Bye-bye.